Welcome to English Podcasts with Chris
and Sue. Hi, Sue.
Hi there, Chris. So I thought today I would like to talk about something that's quite close to our hearts as we're British. What do you think that could be?
Fish and chips.
Oh, yes, absolutely. And you've really answered my question because the topic today is humour. Humour,
Okay.
Jokes, humour. And the thing that we often do between ourselves, because we are British, we like kind of teasing each other. We come back with some sort of banter. I would call that banter, poking fun at each other. And you answered my question perfectly well. Very, very good demonstration. But of course, people often find British humour quite difficult to understand.
Yes.
And I thought today we could talk about the different types of humour, what we think is funny, what we don't find so funny. Because one of the problems with humour is that it doesn't travel well, you know? We say it's often lost in translation, you know?
Absolutely.
And so that is a difficult thing. And also I think for learners, if they want to really get on top of their English, they have to really get their heads around British humour.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's quite tricky. And I think understanding jokes, whatever type they are, we're going to look at the different types, that is like the last level of learning English.
Yep.
You know, once you've got that, you're really on the way.
Or maybe they never get it. I don't know.
Yeah. And they just humour us, as we say, that they think. Because as being British, in fact, I did check out before we did the podcast, which countries are said to have the best level of humour, the best sense of humour. British.
Germans.
Oh,
No.
there you go. There you go again, you see. Now and then, was that sarcastic or ironic? But we're going to...
Well, there is actually a guy called Henning Wen, who is a German comic, but his career is in England. And he has really, it's quite good because he sort of plays on this thing that people think that Germans have no humour. And he comes across as very, very funny, but I'm not sure, as you said, it doesn't travel well, whether it can export back to Germany.
Yes, that's right.
But I'm not sure.
That's right. And in fact, so it's not a big surprise, but one of the top country, the top country for humour was British.
Really?
Now, we've got this reputation. People think...
Can I ask how it was decided?
Well, that is
Who
the thing.
decided it?
Well, that is the thing. I've literally no idea.
Okay.
I just took it.
So unsubstantiated.
That's right, because we take it as a
fake news.
We take it as like a badge of honour, don't we? Really, to have a good sense of humour. But of course, I went down the list: Aussie, Australian, blah blah. And in fact, in the list was the Philippines.
No,
I don't know much about Filipino humour. Anyway, but I laughed when I saw that. So I'm going to mention the different types of humour there are,
right?
And I would like your opinion on it.
Okay.
Whether you find it funny or not.
Right.
Okay. What about slapstick?
Sometimes I do. If you're thinking about Charlie Chaplin and stuff like this, not necessarily, but it can also be a little bit slapstick in modern times, and it can be quite funny.
Yeah. Can you describe slapstick? What would it be?
Pretty visual, I think. Yeah, pretty visual stuff. It's not the spoken word as such, but it's the way that people react to certain situations. And I guess if you're thinking about it, it would be Charlie Chaplin, which is still quite funny.
Yeah.
You know, there's expressions, facial expressions,
Yes.
there's, you know, being in dangerous situations, etc., falling off buildings and whatever.
That's right. And in fact, a more modern one would be Mr. Bean.
No, I never got my head around that.
Yeah.
I never liked it.
I quite like some of it.
Really? Well, I think I've watched 2 episodes. And I think the problem is that Rowan Atkinson is actually very funny.
Well, we're going to come on to this later.
Okay.
We're going to come on to this later.
Right.
But he has this character of Mr. Bean who's a little bit stupid.
Well, that has travelled. Is it because it's slapstick?
It's travelled very well.
Yeah.
It's travelled very well. And of course, in France, a very popular slapstick comedian, I hate to say this, Benny Hill.
Yeah.
You know, I'm past Benny Hill.
Yeah, I think it was like a thing of the time.
Yeah.
You know, the 70s.
Yeah,
or
running
whatever.
around.
Yeah.
hitting people,
Yeah.
like just saying no, not much in the way of words.
It's not very woke.
No, 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 no. Now, what about? I know what you're going to say about this. What about puns, wordplay, and puns?
Yeah.
You are, I would say, one of the leading experts in Toulouse on puns.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So, what is it, and why do you like them?
I don't know. There's a lot of puns in French, actually.
Yes.
There's a lot of wordplay in French. And in English, I guess we do as well. Yeah. What can I say?
Well, I'm going to say, because you're being quite modest now, because you have done comedy stand-up.
Ah, yes.
And a lot of it was puns.
It
Now,
was.
I'm your perfect audience.
I'll give you a joke then. And now it's come back to me. So a guy went to see a zoo. And in this zoo, there were no animals, lots of cages, and there was one cage with a dog in it. And it was a shit zoo.
Oh dear.
There you go.
There you
Terrible.
go. I mean, I love these jokes, and I'm pretty good audience for jokes like that because I think the reason I like them is that as a child, at Christmas we have Christmas crackers.
Ah, yeah.
And the jokes exactly like
were
that.
terrible.
Oh, they were great. But we just laugh at these puns.
Yeah, yeah.
And I like them very much. And of course, if anyone's learning English, they're tricky. You know,
Yeah.
they are a challenge. Okay.
Or learning French to learn that as well.
Sure, absolutely. Now, what about? I've got my list here. Observational humour, which is like stand-up comedians that
I love
tell,
it.
Yeah, tell us about their
Stories.
day. Stories.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, one of the funniest things, but one of the funniest sort of reflections, it was in a film. I think it was Shaun of the Dead. Have you seen this film?
No,
Simon Pegg?
No.
Brilliant film. Really, really funny film. And this guy is like the guy in the pub, you know? You have the guy in the pub who knows everything, that gives his opinion, and people repeat the opinion, but there's no substantiation. A bit like your idea of British comedy being the best. It's a bit like that. And in this, the lead, who was played by Simon Pegg, he had this thing, and he said, you know, dogs can't look up, you know. You know, they can't look upwards, dogs. And everybody believed him. And nobody checks it out, you know?
Yeah. So this is an example of like observational humour.
Yeah, and I think the good thing is about this is that a lot of people will look at dogs to see if they're looking up.
Yeah, all right. And that's funny, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, one of my favourite, in fact, this is going back quite a few years, is Jerry Seinfeld. I like that kind of stand-up. It's talking about his day, things that strike you as funny.
Can't say I saw any Seinfeld, I don't think.
I'm a bit of a fan, actually.
But I think there was a spin-off of that called, with, what's his name? Oh dear, I can't remember the name of it. I'll come back to that one. I'll edit this out.
Yes, okay. So, but I think that's become quite popular now. People talking about their day.
Curb Your Enthusiasm. Have you ever seen that?
Is that a comedy show?
Yeah. I think it was a spin-off of Seinfeld. I think it was somebody in that, Larry or something.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So that's quite good.
And it's, well, I mean, you know, I don't often find American humour that funny.
Humour doesn't travel, does it?
No. I mean, I love, you know, things like Ron Burgundy. You know Ron Burgundy?
No.
I used to like Mel Brooks.
Oh, yes,
you know,
of
the
course.
producers.
I mean, that's wonderful.
I used to love that. There was a lot of
Wonderful.
slapstick in that as well.
Yes, yeah.
But things like Friends, I never thought.
Well, I was going to say, I was going to ask you your opinion of what we call a sitcom.
Yeah.
So a situational comedy. Now, as part of my
There was one years ago called Soap. I don't know if you remember that.
I can't remember.
That was really good.
I can't remember it.
Yeah.
But part of my research for this podcast, I checked out the most popular, in terms of viewing numbers, sitcoms
In America.
in the world.
In the world, okay. I bet The Office in America is
Friends is number one.
really. I never found it funny at all.
I think it's amusing. It's pleasant, but I would not find it I wouldn't say it was a comedy.
No.
I mean, there are comedic kind of situations, but it's not,
I think the big problem for me anyway was the canned laughter.
Yeah, oh, I hate it.
It's almost like, it's almost sort of patronizing in a way, is that, we will put this laughter in because you don't know when to laugh type of thing.
Yes, yeah. I think it's very, very trying on my nerves. They laugh at everything when it's not particularly funny.
It opens a door and...
Yeah. Now, you mentioned The Office.
Yeah.
This is in my list of, I'm going to say, dark humour.
Mm-hmm.
How would you describe
the thing
dark
I
humour?
liked, for me, it wasn't dark humour at all. But the thing that I liked about it was what I call cringe-worthy.
Yes.
It just made you cringe. David Brent, talking about management, saying, I'd rather be popular than whatever,
Yeah.
And I think we've all maybe had a boss a bit like that, in the past.
Yes. Because for me, that was a mix of like a sitcom plus the observational humour.
It's very, very good. Yeah.
Quite rude, quite dark, And I love The Office, but only the British version.
Me too.
I looked at the American version. I couldn't connect. I just couldn't get on with it.
Yeah.
It's so humour doesn't travel very
Not
well.
really, no. But I think it was quite popular in America.
Very.
Yeah.
Very, very, very.
But maybe they'd not seen the original.
Yeah.
And if they would, because there's a lot of cultural references as well. It was a paper company. They were all sales reps, and it was in Reading.
I know.
Yes. We sort of know this.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. It's the context, isn't it? Yeah. And people were not telling jokes, or they weren't even trying to be funny. But the whole situation, I thought, was hilarious.
Well, they did actually tell some jokes.
Did they?
But they all fell totally out the window.
Yeah. Now, here's another one. What about, I'm going to say, surreal humour? Now, a lot of people in France, their reference for humour is like Monty Python.
Ah, great.
Very good. But it was of the last century.
Sure, absolutely.
I love Monty Python.
Yeah.
And we're like word perfect. If I said to you like spam, 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 we'd all be laughing our heads off,
Yeah.
So, but a lot of people in France, they do seem to reference Monty Python as
I think it's a good reference. I think a lot of people do still.
But it was very surrealist. Nothing really followed.
No.
Sequences. But the films, Life of Brian,
Oh yeah, brilliant.
Classic. Now then, parody or satire, humour, parody. I'm thinking of the film Airplane.
Ah, yeah, brilliant.
Great.
Well, that was the Ron Burgundy thing as well.
Oh, was it?
Yeah,
Okay.
he wasn't on there, but it was a parody.
Yeah, I love that stuff.
Yeah.
It's in a way, I think it's quite easy to make it humorous because we laugh at that.
Yeah.
Political humour. I love political humour, especially at the moment.
Such as?
Or Donald Trump. I watch a thing called the News Quiz. I think you do too. British, and they're making jokes about British politics, American politics. It's easy, isn't it? So I quite like that. Coming back to Rowan Atkinson, you said he's very intelligent, very clever. He has another TV show that was called Blackadder.
Ah, that was great.
Now then,
I thought you were going to say the other one, because he had another one called The Thin Blue Line, I think it was.
Oh, yes, that was pretty good too.
Which was rubbish.
Oh, I like him, but I think Blackadder
was great.
was on another level.
Yeah.
And this comes under the heading of witty humour.
Okay.
And I think witty is a good word to learn.
Mm-hmm.
It's quite wordy, lots of words. It's quite clever. It's intelligent. Oscar Wilde was very witty.
Yeah.
He was always coming out with these marvelous sentences, of which I cannot think of one at all at the moment. But Rowan Atkinson, Blackadder, anybody should check that out.
Ah, yeah.
Wonderful.
Four series, I think it were.
Yeah,
and I didn't like the one in the Georgian period.
Oh, I love that.
I liked the medieval one, and the First World War was brilliant.
Marvellous.
3 series maybe then.
Yeah,
I don't know.
maybe 4.
Yeah.
There was a whatever. But I love the Georgian one, and I love the one about when they had to write the dictionary. You know, I love that one. Anyway, there you go. But so that was what I call witty. Coming along the line a bit, we're almost at the end now. Dry humour.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
I can't think of an example, but
Well, I've got one. I had the chance to do a bit of research on it. It's when things are said in a very deadpan manner.
Yeah.
So they're not trying to make a joke, be lighthearted. It's said in a very serious way, but it's funny. And I think really, from what I can remember, Irish people are very good at this.
yeah.
You know, they say it in a deadpan way, and they just hit the nail on the head for the irony.
Dave Allen used to be good
Dave
at that.
Allen. Now he's long gone, isn't he?
Yeah.
But I mean, we're the generation where at home, when we were younger, on TV there was a show called the Comedians.
Oh God.
And I think we've kind of grown up in Britain with this comedy on TV all the time.
Yeah.
Much more than in France.
And lots of sitcoms.
Lots of sitcoms. So I think that really covers everything.
So what's your favourites?
Oh, you know me, I laugh at anything. You know.
Good value.
Yeah, I am. And I mean, the thing about, as I was going to say, the thing about laughter and this kind of comedy for British people, I think is a bit of a coping mechanism.
Could be.
When they're in...
For being British.
Yeah. You know, we have what we call bit of gallows humour.
Yeah.
We have we make a joke about things that are quite dark.
Yeah.
As a way of kind of coming to terms with these things, you know.
And also it changes, doesn't it? Because I mean, there was like you mentioned the comedians, and they were sort of stand-ups and very, very quick, and there was lots of, well, it was just, I don't know, humour that was around in that time. And then in the 80s, there came the alternative comedy, you know, Ben Elton, The Young Ones, etc. And then it sort of changed again. And the thing with the alternative comedy, I loved it, but they very much dissed the old, you know, regular comedians sort of thing, which I think was not such a good thing, because it sort of created us and them type of thing. But you haven't got some tops for you?
Well,
comedy shows or comedians?
I love Blackadder because it's witty.
Have you watched any
clever.
French?
I have. Not many things make me laugh.
Really?
But,
have you seen the Dîner de Con?
yes,
I love that.
I have, but I think that's a bit mean.
Oh, I mean, yeah, but it comes.
I think it's a bit.
It comes full circle, doesn't it?
Yeah. That's a very famous one. I do like Les Bronzés. It's an old one. That's funny. Again, it's making fun of everyday situation. It's observational.
Slapstick as well.
Yeah, it is falling down.
Louis de Finesse.
Oh yes, I mean I do like those. Maybe I'm just like old humour. I don't know.
Absolutely.
But I was watching a thing on Netflix, French film series just this week actually, and it was quite funny. It was about a guy standing for president, although he didn't want to be, and he's being manipulated by his political advisor. It's a funny thing, and I thought that's quite well done.
Sounds like Yes Minister.
Yes, but in a French suburb.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but. Yeah, I can't think of.
Can I give you some tips then?
You can. Give me some tips.
I'll just give you a couple of tips, right?
Give me some tips.
One to watch is Australian humour, if you've ever seen that before. And it's called Colin from Account.
Now then, I've seen this.
Have you seen it?
It made me laugh out loud.
Have you seen the second series?
I have not.
The second series is even better.
Right,
And
yes.
often it's not the case, but it is. It's absolutely brilliant.
I love that.
Colin from Account.
Yeah, I loved it.
It's excellent.
Made me laugh out loud.
Yeah, it's great. And the second series is brilliant. And another one is to look at the Simon Pegg movies.
Okay.
There's there was Shaun of the Dead. There was World's End. And there was another one. What was it called? It was called Run Fat Boy Run. There's that type of humor is really I love that. It's going back a bit of a way. It was sort of a it was an offshoot of another comedy program which was good. I think it was Drop the Dead Donkey or something like this, which was 90s humor. It was 90s stuff. So, you know, we think 90s was 10 years ago. Yeah. Okay. Whatever. It's nearly 25 years ago. Huh? Yeah. And so there's those. There's the Blackadders, like you say. And what have I watched recently, which was really funny? I think the one that I would put at the top is Colin from Accounts.
Yeah.
And I watched that totally by accident.
Yeah.
And I thought it was going to be about an accountant, in his boring day. And also, if another one, but it's going back a little bit again, but it's called The Fast Show.
Yes, that's
I
good.
don't know if you saw that. It's really sort of a program of skits and whatever, but with regular characters, which are quite good. With Tony and Channel 9 and all the rest of it. But really, really good. Yeah.
So just to wrap that up.
Yeah.
I think that I would encourage any learner who thinks that they can handle English to go for a comedy show. Not Friends, because everyone's watched Friends and everyone loves it. Go for something a bit more with a cutting edge.
Yeah.
And
what would you recommend?
well, it depends on people's interests and people's level. But again, it's old stuff like Blackadder. I don't know of anything up to. Well, actually, what I watch every week, it's on YouTube. It's the news quiz.
I've not seen that.
Of course you know it, with Paul Merton, who's very deadpan.
No.
Of course you know it.
No.
No, sorry. It's Have I Got News for You?
Have I got news for you?
Sorry. On the news quiz, that's on the radio I listen to. Have I Got News for You?
I love that.
Yeah, I love it because we have Paul Merton, who's very deadpan, very quick. And then there's
Ian
Hislop, who's very sharp.
And they have guests as well.
And they have guests. And so that is up to date.
Yeah.
And the other thing I watch...
It's quite political, isn't it?
Yes.
And it's very Anglo-centric.
It is. But there's things like...
But maybe it doesn't export.
Well, yeah, and the other thing on YouTube,
And the problem is there's too many references to English politics that a lot of people wouldn't get.
That's true.
At all.
That's true. But what about the Late Show in America? In fact, I think
Not seen it.
yeah. Well, I watch it on YouTube.
Okay.
Very, very, very popular. Very popular. And also, I watch a lot of American political, comedy chat shows and things. But anything on YouTube, anything that takes anybody's fancy, if you like it.
I'd recommend, in fact, another one, which is quite easy to follow along, is Anchorman. This is with Ron Burgundy, Will Ferrell. And it's the guy from The Office.
Okay.
Is it Steve somebody? Anyway, him with the... Yeah, it's him. Anyway, the guy from The Office. There you go. The American Office, that is.
That's the American.
Yeah?
Oh, I know who you
but
mean.
There's
yes.
Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, which was brilliant.
That is just wonderful. But again, it's quite old.
It's very old, but I think it stands its ground.
One of my favourites. One of my favourites. Well, I think, and also if the listeners can leave us a comment, any show that they like, that they could recommend to us that maybe we've forgotten, or anything in French that they would like us to have a look at.
There's a good one. It's a funny one. It's HPI in French. Very, very good.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
Yes. Because I liked on Netflix as well the French show 10%.
Deep Poisson was brilliant.
I loved it.
Yeah. It's called something else in English, isn't it?
I think it's called 10%.
Is it?
Yeah, I think something like that.
Is it called Deep Poisson in French?
Yes.
It is? Oh,
yes.
well, there you go.
Yeah. Very good. Very good acting.
Yeah.
And it really, very, very good. They tried to make a British version, which I watched. It was not good at all.
Yeah.
It's just doesn't travel, does it?
The original's also
No.
best.
Yeah. Well, good. Well, on that note, we better put the TV on and start watching some comedy.
Okay.
Okay, thanks, Chris.
Thank you.
We hope you enjoyed today's podcast. Join us again at english-podcasts.com and subscribe to our podcasts on iTunes. And if you have an idea for a podcast or a blog, please get in contact with us through the site at english-podcasts.com.